Well, folks, I got some more news overnight and I need to share it with you. We have actual product photos this time. Instead of just a video of the radio working, we have photos of different angles and so forth on the radio, and I want to share them with you. So let's get right to it. And we have another picture of the face of the radio. So this is actually something that I think is interesting here. Somebody made a comment the other day on yesterday's video. You see this product number here? The comment that they made was, I sure hope that this head unit can work with other radios. And if you see up here, it says S800M as a product number for just the faceplate. I realize it's got a little metal sticker down here, what appears to be a metal sticker down here for the G7250, but this could be the faceplate of a couple of different radios in a couple of different directions. And if the faceplate works out, if the control surface works out, I'm with them. I think that's a great idea. Our next image is a side view. You can see that there's nothing here on the side of the radio. The other photos show that the microphone plugs into the left side of the head unit. We can see a big fat cable coming out of the back, and I want to talk about that in a second because that's kind of interesting. That changes some of the things that we were told in previous videos. One of the other things is this PWR button here and this button. There was some comments yesterday in the video which were really good. I really appreciate all the comments. You guys are awesome. Is this the power button to turn it on and off? It looks like it from the power symbol here, but then this one here says PWR, and we're used to radios that have these kinds of power buttons. So, you know, like you push the shaft in and that is power, and then you can rotate the inner shaft, rotate the outer shaft. It's a 3-function knob. No problem there. But this could be RF power, even though this one down here says RF power on this button, and then this one here has the power symbol. So which one of these three controls controls the RF power? Which one of these two controls controls the on-off power? Interesting. Another photo of the front of the radio. You can see the microphone plugged into the side. Oh, we see the radio turned off. Yay, thank you. Next photo, we see the radio standing next to it, and we get our first glimpse of how these feet are different than what I thought they were yesterday, and we'll get a better view of that in the upcoming screen. But you can see the kind of the size relationship between the two units, and then we see the head unit by itself, and then these guys here, again, we'll see another picture of these, but I thought that these were adjustable for depth and attached to the top of the base. It looks like they're just feet and they are not adjustable. We'll get a better picture of that. Close up of the control area, the button area. The buttons look like they're a good size. Looks like they're going to be fairly easy to hit as opposed to fairly easy to miss. It's not touchscreen controls, they're actual physical controls, which is really nice. We get too many things that are touchscreen, and then you have to like look at the screen when you're doing it instead of do something and hit a button, which there's pros and cons to both. And especially for our non-light dependent peoples that are out there, touchscreens are really hard to use. So mix of controls is important. Next up, the rear. This is where it starts to get interesting. This connector up here, do not mistake this for a 15-pin VGA connector. It looks like a 15-pin VGA connector. We reuse connectors all the time because they're cheap and affordable. This is probably carrying power from the base unit up, so there's going to be some electrical stuff there. It's carrying data signals up to do the display and send buttons back and forth and so on, so not a big deal there. Let me zoom in a little bit on it because that's a little hard to see. So we can see those other controls that are over there. And now you can see that we've got a speaker and a key. So you'll have an external speaker to get better audio than the little tiny speaker that comes inside of the faceplate. There is one on the front below the screen. You get a key for your CW key, and then you get a USB-A port. Come on, guys. USB-A. It's probably, I don't know. It might be the right connector, you know, logically from years ago, but USB-C would have been the better choice. So this is going to be where you plug in your computer. So now I can imagine, you know, getting some Velcro or something, or maybe adapting these screw holes with new screws, longer screws, so that I can stick a Raspberry Pi on the back of it and then have another display next to it and have the whole thing all together. That would be pretty cool. So we finally get to see the rear of the radio, and we definitely need to zoom in on this to get right in up close. Too close. All right, so here we have the other side of that 15-pin connector. So this is how you connect the display to the radio, is through this 15-pin connector. They said Ethernet, and we had a discussion in the comments yesterday whether it was actual Ethernet framing, does it have a MAC address, is it routable, non-routable, which layer of the OSI model. I don't want to get too deep into that because this isn't that kind of video. This is more of a news type video, and I don't have all the news to get in any deeper than that. But next to it, we do have the Ethernet port, and this is a real Ethernet port in terms of what they paid for. You can see the link light and you can see the activity light inside of the RJ45 keystone area. It is an RJ45 plug. That is typical Ethernet connectivity type stuff, but is this actually connectable over Ethernet? And if it is, how do you get the display 100 meters away like they were saying? So I think they're talking about this cable here going over to 100 meters, which that would be a very heavy, very bulky cable. So I don't know why they did that. This connector up here is your typical ICOM tuner connector. I'm not going to say it's an ICOM tuner. I'm just saying it's a ICOM tuner connector, so you have a physical reference, visual reference of what it looks like. 4 pins, it could be power, it could be data, it could be a bunch of stuff, don't know, because we don't have an owner's manual yet. These here are RCA connectors, Radio Corporation of America. And these can do anything. These could be, I know they're not, they could be antenna connectors, they could be left and right audio channel connectors. One of these could be send or ALC to control the radio via the amplifier, to control the amplifier via the radio. One of these could be PTT. It could be anything. These are basically on-off connections. One of these could even be a CW key, but we have no idea what these are. Red and white RCA connectors in a pair like this is typically audio. Just putting that out there. Let's all speculate in the comments together as to what you could possibly do with that. Any of the things that I missed. Anderson power poles for power. Some people don't like power poles. Okay. I like them. I'm happy to see Anderson power poles there. I'm also happy that a lot of Xiegu's other products are standardizing on power poles for connectivity, especially because that Tamiya connector on the G90. I'm not a fan of that. Ground connector here, 2 antenna ports, no indications, no markings on the chassis. Is this HF and is this 6 meters? Are these both HF ports? Is it a dual receive radio where you can listen to 2 different HF frequencies and transmit on 2 different HF frequencies at the same time? What would that look like? That opens up some possibilities, or it removes some possibilities. I don't know where I fall on that yet or not, but there are 2 antenna connectors on the back of them. They're both SO239. And then we have a ginormous fan on here. And I think that's my last picture. And I'm right. That is my last picture. Folks, leave me some comments down below. Let me know what you think. I do like that Xiegu and Radioddity both are not charging a fee to have a pre-reservation for this. Just sign up for the newsletter. It's a link below the video for my newsletter. It's a link on their website, which I will also link below to sign up for their newsletter. Both of us are going to tell you right away when this radio comes out and is available for purchase. There is 0 fee. There was a problem. Not this year, 2026 at Dayton Hamvention, 2025 at Dayton Hamvention. People paid for, first off, they were lied to and they were told that you cannot separate the Optima from the FTX 1F by any kind of distance. And then they were told that there would be decent pricing or no bundle pricing or something along those lines. And then they paid a reservation fee. And then the people who paid the reservation fee were second in line behind the people at Dayton who got them first. And that was from the distributor that sold them. And I'm not 100% sure what the distributor was, but I'm sure a lot of you know and can leave a comment down below. That was a really nasty scenario. I would not want to have paid for a pre-reservation for a radio and then saw somebody else get it before me. That was the point of paying for the pre-reservation, was to get it fast. I paid extra. That's what it's there for. They can pay extra. That's what it's there for. They didn't. They got it. I didn't. That's bad business. So that left a bad taste in my mouth. And a lot of you guys are commenting on these radios come from China instead of Japan. Radioddity does have US-based service centers. Radioddity does have an 18-month warranty, which is longer than ICOM's warranty. And it's not as long as Xieg's warranty, I'll give them that. But it's still local depot returns and repairs, replacements under warranty. And then we do need somebody to step up to do radio repairs, but sometimes the price tag of these radios, it's not feasible. I do repairs on this channel. You guys have seen it. Margins are razor thin. And the only reason I can really do it is because I have the YouTube channel in order to help support that hobby. I wouldn't be able to do the marketing and the selling and the repairing and so on and also make any money. I mean, they're, $10 a radio is all I get out of them. So, and for you as the customer, you're paying, round trip shipping of $60 plus repair labor. So $60 plus another $60, you're in it for 120 on a $120 to a $200 radio. It ain't worth it. So there we go. Stay tuned to the channel. Make sure you are subscribed to see more updates when they come out. Hopefully we will get an owner's manual here pretty soon. That's going to be what I'm looking forward to for my next update. And if you want to see the previous update, I've got them linked right over here for you. Thanks for being awesome. I'll see you over there.